Gargoyles. Why are these decorative drain pipes so fascinating? The word gargoyle even sounds a little creepy. They first showed up on medieval European cathedrals in the 12th century. A gargoyle is a carved animal or human character attached to a building that acts as a water spout, directing the water away from the walls of the building through the snarling gaping mouth, often all over anybody below. The idea was to counteract erosion. The longer the water spout, the further away from the building the water is directed. Gargoyles and grotesques are surrounded by myth and legend. The difference between them is easy to remember. Their architectural features very similar, but are different in subtle ways. It doesn't spout water or gargle. It isn't a gargoyle, it's a grotesque. Most people think gargoyles outstrip grotesques, even though grotesques are patterns of gargoyles. Well, they must be grotesque anyway. Grotesques are sculptures of imaginary creatures, and it has no functional architectural purpose. And the word grotesque generally means something that is distorted to an appalling degree, like caricature. And grotesque is derived from an Italian word. As gargle is derived from an old French word, root word gar, which means to swallow, representing a gurgling sound. And the word gargoyle is used figuratively to mean excessively ugly person. With gargoyles and grotesques, the line between good and evil often blurs, and a lot is left to the imagination. The sculptures seem to represent an upside down world where the line is blurred between animals and humans, and their roles are reversed. Now, one view of these monstrous creatures are merely stone demons meant to ward off evil forces lurking outside sacred places. And another suggests that the structures were manifestations of souls condemned to hell, where they were safe from eternal damnation, and they had to pay the cost of their transgressions by no longer being allowed inside the church, but by guarding it by sitting on top of it. And I think during the medieval period, the fearsome destructiveness of these beasts also reminded the church followers of the need for the church's protection. And architecturally, gargoyles have a practical use. They have a cup in the back to facilitate the flow of water through their mouth, or sometimes their ass. Such buildings often have multiple gargoyles. And by the end of the Gothic period, probably around the 16th century, the carving of gargoyles grew more elaborate and light-hearted. Human figures started to appear as comic relief more often than guardians. And often the heads are so lifelike that it's argued that the stone carvings possibly represented their own mindset in the sculptures. And another sometimes amusing depiction is a mouth puller who contorts his face to mock the worshippers. There's also the depiction of gargoyles sticking out the tongues, almost in an embarrassed expression. There's also sexual undertones nudity in some of the gargoyles. Gargoyles are most commonly represented by dragons with bat-like wings, long necks, and fierce eyes and expressions, often accentuated with large protruding noses, wrinkled skin and thick hair. Symbolism of animals in gargoyles and chimeras has changed over the centuries, but dogs are often watchful guards, doves symbolise peace, as today, dragons symbolise the devil, and lions guardianship, and elephants are signs of peace. And often gargoyles are like hybrids of multiple animals, and these are called chimeras. There was also sculpture of an astronaut. It was added to a new cathedral in Salamanca in Spain during renovations in 1992. Now this sparked interest in conspiracy theories in recent years, because the cathedral was built in 1102, and to see a technologically accurate depiction on the walls of a spaceman was quite remarkable. And the Gothic gargoyles started a form of medieval Masonic madness. The result, never mind gargoyles and grotesques, is a veritable forest of knobbly Gothic spires, crenellations, crocketed finials, pinnacles and cornices. And then we have probably my favourite, the Green Man, with oak or ivy foliage emanating from his face. It's a common theme of grotesques and carvings dating back to the Roman Empire. But the name Green Man, however, is only about 80 years old, first quoted in 1939, and it symbolises a synthesis between man and nature. I think grotesque bridges the gap between reality and fantasy. They have elements of man and their features, but their overall features are not human at all. Now, the history of the Green Man is another subject altogether, which I might do one day.